Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby, and today we are going to look at what I think we're going to see in the 45-man squad that will be announced tomorrow at 6 o'clock South African Standard Time. Not necessarily some of the picks I would make. There's a couple of players that I would have liked to have seen part of the squad, but based on what we kind of sort of know about the players who are part of the alignment camp, based on sort of the players that were involved obviously in the World Cup, and sort of trying to kind of sort of guess what the thinking is, we're going to have a bit of a stab at trying to name a 45-man squad. So yeah, I mean, let me know what you think. What would you like to see in the squad? What is your 45-man squad? Is it your 45-man squad, or is it what you think Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Nienaber are going to go with? It's going to be quite interesting. You know, I think it's going to be, we obviously know it's going to be very much World Cup squad based. You know, I think it's going to be a very similar squad apart from some of the players who have retired and who are suffering with injury. After that, I think it'll be quite interesting. I think that given the time frame, given the fact that the Springboks have not played since the final in 2019, I don't really think that the Springbok coaches are going to be too keen to try and experiment. You know, they're going to be going for players who are fairly settled. You know, I think there will be a couple of youngsters here and there, but I think it's definitely going to be looking at players who have been part of the Springbok setup before, who have maybe toured with the Springboks before, or else players who are quite mature in their game and understand the game and can slot in quite easily. We don't really have much time for players to sort of get to know where they are and where they are in their game on the job, which is why, I think we haven't seen Vincent Tuka as part of the alignment camps. You haven't seen Albert Lowe as part of the alignment camps. You know, some of these players who haven't necessarily been around long enough to be able to slot in instantly. I think there are players that definitely will be in the radar quite soon, but maybe not in this tour necessarily. Before we get into it, we're going to start with our forwards, then we're going to backs. Please do smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We will be live tonight for the Bulls versus the Stormers. It won't be me, it'll be Lekanyo Chongweni, who is often on the channel as a pundit and as a bit of a guest, so he's going to be hosting the watch along tonight. So please go through and support him and have a chat with him. Always gives him some really good insights. Very experienced, has played rugby at pretty high levels, and is also coaching at pretty high levels as well. So make sure you go and check that out. But right, without any further ado, let's have a look at the squad. I'm going to start with the forwards, in which case we're going to start with the props, and I think we're going to go with about 7 props. My thinking is we're going to go 3 loose head, 3 tight heads, and we're going to go somebody who can play both. So the props I'm going with are Stephen Kitshoff, Lizo Gqoboka, Oxen Chair, Frans Malherbe, Trevor Nyakane, Vincent Koch, and Thomas du Toit. It could be Wilco Louw as well instead of Vincent Koch, but I think that, given the fact that Vincent Koch was preferred during the World Cup, I think they're going to go with him. I think they're going to go with Trevor Nyakane because he's playing some really good rugby at the Bulls. And then Thomas du Toit, I think, will make it as the player who can play on both sides of the scrum. So I think that's going to be fairly settled. I think the only sort of question mark there is potentially Vincent Koch, or maybe even potentially Oxen Chair, but I don't see who else they're going to bring in. Hookers, I think, are also going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be Malcolm Marx, Bongi Monambi, and then it's also to have Aka van der Merwe. Faison Botha has been part of the alignment camps. I'll be surprised if he is named in the 45-man squad. I think he's been very good, but I think he still has a little bit of progress to make. I think he's still got a way to go. He looks like a very exciting player, but sometimes struggled a little bit with lineouts. So I think that he's been part of the alignment camps, but I would like to maybe look to bring in towards the Argentina games, or maybe even the outgoing series. I think it might be a little bit too soon. I think if you go with Malcolm Marx, Bongi, Joseph Dwebe, and Aka van der Merwe, those are all players who are very settled. I mean, they can slot in at the highest level immediately. So I think those are very safe bets. Locks, Ibe Etzebeth, Franco Mostert are a guarantee. We know that they're going to play. The big worry at the moment is over Lua Diaga and Arceus Snyman. It looks like Arceus Snyman and Lua Diaga hopefully should be fit, so I've named them in the squad. If not, a couple of other players who are around, something like JD Schikkeling, who's rolled his ankle, was potentially part of the lineman camp. Sal Murat was also somebody who was on the radar, part of the lineman camps, but I don't think they'll necessarily make it. And then I've included Marvin Orie and Nicholas Janssen van Rensburg, who's been part of the alignment camps, and all sort of sources point to the fact that he probably will be included in the squad. I think Marvin Orie is also quite a safe bet. He's played for the Springboks again in Wales in that defeat in the USA, but he's a seasoned player, so he'll know exactly what's cutting. In terms of the loose forwards, obviously we're going to have our captain Siya Kolisi. No issues there. I thought it was very good for the Sharks 2 weeks ago. Not named in the Sharks, he's having a rest this week, so I think he's coming into form at the right time, so no issues there. Kwaka Smith, obviously from Japan, will make it there. And Marcel Coetzee, I think, will probably make it, despite not having played much rugby in the last couple of weeks. He's going to be back for Bulls tonight, and we'll see how he goes, but I think he probably will be part of the squad. He was supposed to be part of the squad for the World Cup before getting injured, so I think that he might sneak into it. PCF Toy will be there. And it sounds like Reinhard Elstad will be there, as well as Jean-Luc Duprier. I'm a little bit frustrated at Reynolds Elstad, I think, purely because he's 31 years old, and I think that's a spot that could have gone to a Vincent Tuka or Albert Lowe. Either or, really. I mean, you could have justified both. Albert Lowe's been the form player of the last sort of 4 or 5 months. Vincent Tuka has been fantastic for the Lions for about 2 years now, and he's only getting better. So I think either of those players could have slotted in there very easy. I think that's probably getting my biggest gripe if that is the case. But that's what it looks like. Albert Lowe not part of the lineman camp, stuff like that. The Dupree twins are supposedly they're part of the lineman camp. They reckon that they're ready for their return. So I've gone with Jean-Luc and Dan Dupree. Dwayne Firmino obviously will be the 8th man, and Jasper Wiese, it looks like it's inevitable that he will be part of the squad. Rassie Rasmus even name dropped him in the last press conference. So those are the 26 forwards that I've gone with. I think my biggest issues would probably be I would have liked to have seen a Vincent Tuka, Albert Lowe, Marco van Staden in those loose forwards, and we're not going to see it. I can kind of understand maybe Marco van Staden, because I think that we generally don't look for a fetcher. We kind of leave that to the hookers, and Dwayne Firmino obviously does a lot of fetching. A lot of people reckoning that Billy Engelbrecht will be part. He was part of the alignment camps apparently. Also, obviously, they had that loan to Stormers and stuff like that, and suddenly he seems to be playing in the number 6 jumper. So, a bit of rumours that he might be a bit of a shock surprise pick. So, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Other than that, it's a fairly settled set of forwards. In the backs, I also don't think we're going to see too many surprises. In fact, I think the backs are pretty easy to guess. I mean, starting with scrum halves, we know it's going to be Faf de Klerk, Herschel Yankees, and Kobus Reinach. If they include a 4th scrum half, I think we could see Jaden Hendricks. I hope we can see Jaden Hendricks. I think he's a very, very good player. I think he's a very well-rounded scrum half. It'll be a very good experience for him. But if you go with 3 scrum halves, those will be the 3 scrum halves I think we'll go with. Fly halves are going to be Pollard, Alton Yankees, Morne Steyn. No issues there. You've got Pollard's first choice. Alton Yankees has been the form fly half in South Africa for the last couple of years. And then Morne Steyn has been really good and obviously has the experience where he can kind of slot in. So, I mean, I feel a little bit for Curran Bosch. I think he was very good in Super Rugby Unlocked and Currie Cup, but I think he struggled in the last couple of weeks. And that might sort of mean he might not have done enough right now to get into the squad. Morne Steyn's a safer bet, just because he's been part of the setup. I do worry about whether he can still do it on the international level. Playing against franchise teams is very different to playing against the best 15 players from across 4 nations. So whether Morne Steyn is up to that, we'll have to wait and see. Centres, I think we're going to see Damien Lindy, Andre Esterhuizen, Lakanya and Jesse Creel. I want to see the Similani. I think it's probably going to be the big name. Hopefully we include, and France Steyn. I mean, France Steyn's a utility backs, but I just chucked him in the centre, so that's where he's been playing. But yeah, Damien Lindy's been fantastic for Munster. He's going to start. Lakanya will start next to him. Jesse Creel, Andre Esterhuizen will probably be the cover there. Jesse Creel, back from Japan, looks in really good shape, as he always does. Pretty much the poster boy for any rugby side he's part of. And yeah, Similani I think deserves it. I think it's been him and Lukanya as the form outside centres. And Similani's a very different type of player. But I also think he's a player that will play international rugby. We know it's going to happen. He's too good not to. He was sensational for the Baby Box a couple of years ago. He's been really good for the Lions when they've started backing him. He's a really good creative player. Obviously needs to work on his defence, but I think being part of the setup, working with Jesse Creel, working with Kanya having the experience of France Steyn, I think it will do him a world of good to be in and around the squad and hopefully get around for the SAA. And then outside backs, I think are also fairly predictable. I'm leaving out Warwick Kalan because I don't think he'll be ready. But it sounds like he could be part of the squad, in which case I could see him coming in ahead of Apolele Fassi, but I think it's just difficult to try and justify picking someone who hasn't played a lot of rugby. So I've gone with Makazola Mapimpi, Roscoe Speckman, Damien Willemse, Cheslin Colby, Spoon Corsi, Willie LaRue, and Apolele Fassi. Spoon Corsi also nursing a bit of an injury, so that's a bit of a concern. Damien Willemse maybe not playing at his best rugby at the moment, but covers a lot of positions. He's been part of the World Cup squad. I don't see why you would leave him out. I don't think there's anybody who sort of streaks ahead of him. But yeah, so that's the backs I've gone with. Let me know what you think and what would you change. I'm keen to want to see the Similani. I'm hoping that Roscoe Speckman also gets callings. I think he's something that's a bit different, a bit of X factor. Cornel Hendricks for me would have been a nice player to have been on the radar. For me, it would have been a bit of a toying cost between him and Andre Esterhuizen, both very different players. But I really, really enjoy Hendricks, and I really enjoy the way that he's playing at the Bulls at the moment. But not part of the lineman camp, so looking unlikely. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to go happen. Obviously, there'll probably be a couple of changes, maybe one more forward and one less back, or maybe the other way around. But let me know what you think. Smash a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very, very soon.